Okay, so this video I'm going to show you the quickest way I've come up with so far on how to do easy peel stickers when all the images are different. And this method assumes that, well, assumes a couple of things. One is, but I will address at the end. One, it assumes that you're not going to be moving these after you add the contours because the contours go onto a separate layer all on their own. But I'm going to show you a workaround for that. And then I'm going to show two situations. In one situation, the kiss cut layer around it, that layer, and actually both of them, they're just cut lines. Okay, there's nothing to print. The only thing that'd be printing would be this image here. In the second one, I'll show how to do this if, let's say, you do want a colored contour around this, and then of course the easy peel, the outer contour would not have a color. So I'll show both those, although actually you could add a color if you wanted to. I just wanted to show both situations. So I'm going to pop out some of these panels so that they're more accessible during the video. So let's take this one, and then I don't know, maybe fill and stroke, maybe the stock panel. Okay, so then I'm going to just use Control A to select all of the shapes at one time, all of the stickers, and then I'm going to go to Effects, Shadow Layer. And in this window, in the first situation, the way I'm going to be doing it is that there's no colored border around any of them. There's just going to be, basically two contour lines. So I'm going to shadow, I'm going to change the shadow to rounded, just in case, if there's ever anything kind of pokey, anything kind of sharp sticking out, it only gets worse if you leave it on regular shadow. So typically for stickers, you want things to be a little more rounded, a little easier to peel off. So I select rounded, and then I'm going to turn on blackout shadow, which you do just in case there's anything, like you can see right here, what changed, like right here in this dinosaur, there was like kind of an opening there. So I'm going to, to mark that, and then print plus cut outline. Now, print plus cut outline, it does two things. One is the shadow gets created is going to end up and not have a fill color, and that, of course, is something that you may or may not want. But more importantly, if you mark that, then inside these folders, each one of these, the original cut line, which it follows the transparency, that original cut line, which you don't want to cut anymore, it will automatically get changed from print plus cut cut only to print plus cut print only. So that's the step that you don't have to go back and do. So that's why you mark this outline here for easy peel stickers. So then and then of course you can make the outline whatever you want. If it jumps up too much, you can just click this and type in exactly the size that you want, instead of just relying on it, instead of just clicking this up and down or trying to scroll and get to the exact size you want. And then to get the second outline, you just mark this to number 2 for the second outline. And then this here, for beginners, the default, is that it's 1.0, which means that this outline is the same size as the inner outline. But you can make it a larger one if you wanted it to be larger than the inner one, or you can make it smaller. And it's just kind of like a percentage larger or smaller than the original. So, usually with easy peel, I would think that would be pretty much a thin strip. You don't really need it there, other than just to peel it off and then make it easier to grab the sticker. So that's probably going to be thinner than your original contour. And so then once you have those two, and again, it doesn't matter what colors you're using here because they're just going to be gone anyway after you complete this step. So I'm going to click on OK. And as you can see now, then I've got these two outlines instead of having the fill color. So again, looking at the style panels, markings, again, these, and I didn't show you originally that when you import them, it comes in as cut plus cut, print plus cut only, but it does. But then again, each one of these cut lines, I can select the cut line, is now been changed to print plus cut print only. So I don't have to worry about that inner cut line. And then down here, I see this new layer. And this new layer, there's two layers that are grouped together. One of them is all of the inner cuts, the inner contours, and the other is all of the outer contours. And so the inner contours, and again, I'm doing the typical situation. It doesn't cover all situations, but the typical situation is this one right here. You want to change it from print plus cut only to score because you want to use a lower score force on it than the outer one, which you're going to leave at print plus cut only, and then it's going to have the higher force. And then one more thing about this score layer. The score layer isn't going to print either. So you can come over to your preview window, click on preview, and I did something wrong here. Oops, yeah. Let me close this. This inner one is score. This outer one here needs to be set to print plus cut only. I'm not sure how I messed that up. So anyway, let's come back here. And now then on the preview, see this looks correct. Your inner one is green, which is green means the show score layers, and then your cut layers, and your printable. And then when you hide your printable, you can see that. If you hide your two cut layers, you can see this is what's going to print, along with, turn on your registration marks, and then you can show what the print margins are going to be. So the only issue then remaining is the fact that you can't move one of these. With the shadow layers, these are grouped together. So these cut layers that are part of the shadow layer, right? And well, here, if you want to be able to move them, let me just show you what if you needed to move them, okay? Then this is where it will get tedious. And so you have to take this layer, which this, I'll go ahead and mark this. This is the inner one. So this one would be the score layer. So don't forget, you can just rename these if you want to. You don't have to, but just if you want to make sure you're not getting them confused. And so you can take this, first of all, take this layer, right click, ungroup, and then you can take this score layer and then come over to Object, Break Apart. And Break Apart then has all of these different score layers separate, okay? And then you can take each one of them, and then if you want to be able to move it, then I would take it and probably drag and put it into the correct folder. So this one obviously is a horse because the horse shows up. So I take it and I drag it down into the horse layer, okay? And then this is the elephant, so I'm going to drag it down into the elephant. And this one is the hedgehog, drag it into the hedgehog. This one is the dino, goes into dino, etc., until I get all of these into the appropriate layer. So into that, and then again the cut layer, you would need to do the same thing for it if you again want all these grouped together. So you go to Object, Break Apart, open it up, and then you would need to drag these. And again, this is not necessary for cutting. It would cut it. It's all going to work just fine. It's only if you need to start moving these around that you would have to do this. Or if you wanted to make more copies of one or the other or whatever. Okay, so dino and cow and gorilla. Okay, and then once you have that, now then you've got these all in a group, and so you can move them individually, right? No problems there. Okay, so now then I'm going to basically now do the second part where you are going to have a color. So I'm going to start over. Let's come to New Page. Oh, you know what? Cancel that. Let's just close this one out. File, close project, and that's because I'm just going to open up the same project again rather than try to go back and delete all those layers. So now then we're back to our, the same place we started before. So this time I do want to fill color around all of these. So I'm going to do a Control A to, Control A to select them all. Go to Effects, Shadow Layer. Again, I think it's a good idea to go ahead and do the print plus cut outline. And the reason for that is, again, it goes through to all those cut layers and it changes them to print only. So it's kind of going to be worth it to not try to select the colors in this window and then just add the color later on. So again, we set the size that we want. You set the layer count to 2, and you set the variance to what you want the outer layer to be relative to the inner contour. Then click on OK. And now I have these two shadow layers. Now then, because you will want that contour, that first inner contour, to have a color and print it, you can't have it set to score because score layers don't print. That'd be something you go, well, why won't it print? Well, it's something that we discussed for a long time with the developer, and we had to look at all the situations in which somebody would want to use a score force versus not using a score force, and whether or not having it printed made sense, not having print. And so it was concluded by the majority that it made sense for it not to print. So that's just the way it is. So this inner layer that you have here, the way you do that, you can go ahead and give it the fill color. So let's come over here and select a color, and then let's give it something kind of mild, nothing too terribly bright because it's going to look weird. So anyway, so there, let's say that's the color you wanted to use. Now for this one, you'll want to leave it, or I'm sorry, not leave it, because you don't want it to cut only either. You want to change it to cut, because the layer assigned to cut will both print and it will cut. So that's what that layer needs to be, all right? Then the outer layer, this is the layer that then needs to be set to score. so that you can have different forces between the two of them. So it's set to score. So now then basically you're ready. You're good to go. We can confirm here in this window. Let's turn on show score lines. And so now then you see that your inner line is your cut line, your outer layer is your score line. And then it's just like you kind of reverse the pressure. So let's go to the cut window, or go to the create window. And so here in this window, then you would have your two forces. You would want your regular force, which is going to be the inner one, to be at the lower pressure value, lower force value you need, whereas then the outer one would have the higher force, so that it would cut all the way through the material. So anyway, I think that covers it. And if you have any questions, let me know.